All right, we're back in business. We're back in business. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
As David said, my name is Mike Jones, and it is true that back then they didn't want me, but now I'm hot. I can only say that because my wife is here. So I'm a partner at Kirkland and Ellis, and we are the largest law firm in America by revenue. And so for the last 10 years, we have been representing the coalition and the students and alumni of the 4 HBCUs pro bono for free.
Woo! Thank you!
And we have had 2 long trials. Like, each of the trials was 6 weeks long.
Wow.
And it was wonderful to have standing room only in each of those trials. We also had an appeals in the 4th Circuit Court of Appeals, and so many supporters came out that they set up a separate room so that people could watch it on closed circuit television. I have to tell you that the legal team really takes inspiration from your support. In 2013, Judge Blake ruled in favor of the coalition and the HBCU students and alums against the state, noting, quote, Maryland had a shameful history of de jure segregation through much of the past century.
Yeah.
Continuing the quote, public education opportunities for African Americans were either non-existent or decidedly inferior to the opportunities afforded to white citizens.
All right.
One of the biggest fights that we had in the case was over the state's historical documents that they didn't want us to get access to, and once we got access to, they did not want us to present them in court. You all, of course, are familiar with the odious doctrine of separate but equal, that Thurgood Marshall have to be down. But your state made no pretext of separate but equal.
That's right.
Maryland's own document said that it was the state's official policy to maintain the HBCUs as inferior in every aspect of their operation.
South Africa.
Their own documents talk about that, quote, the contrast between the amounts of money received by the 2 racial groups would show, if possible of computation, an enormous differential in favor of the white race. In particular, Judge Blake found the state liable for the 10-to-1 disparity in unique high-demand programs between the HBCUs and the TWIs, and the unnecessary duplication of HBCU programs. Right. Now, these programs are the kind that attract not just students, but business partnerships and research funding.
Yes.
The court ordered Maryland to close this disparity by providing the HBCUs with additional funding for programs, for marketing, yes, and scholarships, yes, on top of what the state has already done. And that's what the fight has been about. The state's position had been that the HBCUs can fund their own remedy.
Yes.
But the court pointed out that in 2000, Maryland entered into an agreement with the Office of Civil Rights where they promised that they were going to fix this problem. But as the court noted, they reneged on this promise. In 2008 and 2009, Maryland appointed a commission headed by legislators called the Bohannon Commission. And the Bohannon Commission noted that the state policy effectively marginalized the HBCUs, making it impossible for them to compete. The state agreed and promised in the state 2009 plan for higher education they were going to fix this. They promised in 2009 that they were going to make the HBCUs comparable and competitive with the TWIs. But they reneged on that agreement as well. The judge entered a remedial order after the liability order, and the state went bonkers. The state estimated that the cost of the judge's remedial order was $1 billion. They then offered in a letter to Delegate Glenn to fix this $1 billion with an offer of $100 million.
What? No!
And after that point, the governor raised it to $200 million and took a bow.
That's a slap in my face.
This amount was substantially less than the state of Mississippi paid. And the judge concluded that the disparity in Maryland is as bad as, if not worse than, Mississippi of the 1970s. So let me just conclude by saying that we are committed to continuing this fight for equity and justice that was started by another Maryland hero, Thurgood Marshall, when he sued the state decades ago. Our strategy is like the strategy of the civil rights movement. That is, it's a three-pronged strategy. There's litigation, and that's where I come in. There's legislation, and that's where the caucus comes in. And then there's street agitation, which is where you come in.
All right, on that note, look, on the coldest day of the year, you're all out here, right?
Yeah!
A little cold don't hurt. A little cold don't hurt. I'm bringing back our chair because guess what? We got a surprise visitor here today.
All right.
Are we fired up?
Yeah!
Ready to go! Hey, I think I'm burning up right now because we're going to go get this money.
You need us to go behind you?
That's right. And I'm burning up right now because I got one of the baddest women in the land coming up here to let you know. In the state of Maryland, we have the first African-American woman to be the Speaker of the House. She's here to stand with us and say that we will not accept $200 million, that we want with our fair due. Put your hands together for our Speaker, your Speaker, Adrian Jones.
Hello. I'm a little late. I'm just coming from Prince George's County, speaking at the greater Prince George's County Roundtable. But I'm here in support of the Legislative Black Caucus in terms of this funding. Those of you may not know, I wrote a letter to the governor saying that $577 million is the amount we need.
Okay.
So, and I know about funding for operating and capital budget, because those of you may not also know, I used to chair the education subcommittee and the capital budget for our funding. So I know what can do. You know what I'm talking about. So I'm here in solidarity. It's great numbers. I think you're from all over. I see some familiar faces, and this is the way to try to get things changed. When you see the numbers, you're out here, and it does make a difference. Thank you. I don't know where the speaker's going to be, who's behind me, but I'm in support, and I'm just as anxious as you are. So hopefully, somebody will be listening.
Man, they better listen. They ain't got no choice.
You going to claim it?
Yeah!
Claiming it. Thank you.
$3 billion.
All right.
Next up, we're going to have one of our representatives from the Maryland HBCU Advocates, but also want to give a shout out to Marvin Doc Cheetah for the work he's done. But next up is Sharon Blake.
Good afternoon. I stand before you as one of 5 siblings who graduated from Morgan State. Today, I'm speaking on behalf of all 7 of my siblings and for the Maryland HBCU Advocates. As an HBCU graduate and through 43 years in the Baltimore City Public School System as a teacher, I know all too well the value HBCUs serve, not just in the African American community, but in the communities at large. We're here to tell the governor that Maryland HBCUs produce many of our African American doctors, civil rights leaders, teachers, engineers, writers, lawyers, and Maryland's first and only African American chief judge of the Court of Appeals. We're here to tell our governor that federal Judge Catherine Blake sent a message that Maryland's dual system of publicly funded institutions of higher education continue to be an indisputable fact that must finally be rooted out as the law requires, no matter how daunting the task, end quote. So let's tell the governor of the great state of Maryland to make history and to end the unconstitutional practices of separate and unequal treatment of Maryland's HBCUs relative to duplications of programs. Let's tell our governor to fund high-demand academic programs for our HBCUs with a down payment of nothing less than $1 billion. Let's tell our governor that it is not an impossible dream. Let's tell our governor we are willing to fight the unbeatable foe. Let's tell our governor we're willing to run where the brave dare not go. Let's tell the governor we are willing to march into hell for the HBCU cause. Let's tell our governor he has a chance to right the unrightable wrong. Let's tell our governor to reach the reachable star. Let's tell our governor that we can only be true to this glorious quest, that our hearts will lie peaceful and calm when he budgets at least $1 billion and puts the HBCU lawsuit to rest.
All right. Now you've been hearing from the older folk, but look, we're going to have some students coming up. All right. First student we're having coming up is from Bowie State. There's Tucker.
How y'all doing today? So I'm gonna ask y'all a question, but I'm gonna give you the answer. So when I ask y'all why we here, y'all gonna say to fight. And when I ask y'all why we fight, you're gonna say to win. So why are we here? To fight! Why do we fight? To win! See, that's why I'm here too. One of the many things my mom instilled in me is that as a black man in America, I have to work twice as hard to get half of what my white counterparts will get. What she failed to mention is that my battle was just one front in a war on our existence. See, knowledge is power. And we have long been powerless in a system that preys on people of color. It was once said that if you want to keep something from a black person, put it in a book. This was true 200 years ago, but that is not the case today. In 1837, the first HBCU was founded in Cheney, Pennsylvania. Historically, black colleges have always been a pillar for our community, closing the gaps and obstacles that have been erected in our path. Education is the great equalizer, the counterbalance that lifts us up. There is no reason not to fund equality. That's why my mom is running for office, and that's why I'm here. So one day I can look in my daughter or my son's face and say, if you work hard, you will get what you deserve. Y'all. We are here to fight for funds. We are here to fight for equal facilities. We are here to fight for our future and what is long overdue. So I'm going to ask y'all again, why are we here? To fight! Why do we fight? To win!
Next up is Morgan Stay Stone. Senator. Wilberforce.
We are the Bears. We don't take no mess. We get mad in a minute. Stomp you in your chest. Greetings, everybody. It is a beautiful day to be here in the state's capital. My name is Chinedu Okafor, and I crave your indulgence. I am from the illustrious Morgan State University. The greatest thing ever created as it pertains to education in this country. So we all know why we're here.
We know.
I'm not a legal expert. I don't have a law degree. But I am an agitator, I'll tell you that.
Yes, you are.
What I want you to know is this. When it comes to the case, we can't leave all of the work to the legal experts alone.
Right.
We have to show the state that we're here. We have to pack those courtrooms and make them uncomfortable.
Yes.
Because they think that we don't care.
We care.
We are not in an age to sing any more soliloquies of sadness.
Right.
We are not in the age of asking, nor are we in the business of begging.
Right.
Those days are over. What I find it hard to understand that when HBCUs in the country bring about a $15 billion economic impact to our nation, and in Maryland we bring $1 billion of economic impact, and the governor dare tell you and dare tell me that he will only give us $200 million.
That's a slap to my face.
It is not just an insult. You know what it really is?
A slap to my face.
Better yet, it's a charge.
That's right.
Because the truth of the matter is, brothers and sisters, we cannot get comfortable where we stand. We cannot get comfortable where we sit. No matter what the weather it is, no matter how far it is, whether we come into Annapolis or even on our own institutions, it is our duty to get the state of Maryland to get their fiduciary expenses in order. Now, we hear all these great words. We look around, we see all these great people. This is all products of the HBCU.
Right.
No one can deny that HBCUs are great. When the state of Maryland broke its own law and illegally duplicated programs and brought them to the TWIs and then refused to properly and adequately fund our institutions.
Right.
How do you break your own rules? I'm going to speak in the words of Martin Luther King. Be true to what you said on paper.
That's right.
Be true to your own law.
Amen.
But ask yourself this. If you weren't so great, would they have taken anything from you? If you weren't fired up, if you weren't ferocious, if you weren't amazing, if you weren't the beginning, if you weren't the end, would they have ever taken anything from you?
Say it, brother.
So as we stand here today, let's be clear. If we want to assure that this is just not a photo op, when you get back to your institutions, when you get back to your churches, when you get back to your sororities and fraternities, you tell your people that we are here and we are standing for HBCUs, and the fight is long and the fight is hard.
Yes, it is.
But listen, not only is it worth it, we are standing on the shoulders of the greatness that came before us.
Right.
Look around. Look around. In our generation, there is no dogs coming after us. There are no hoses hosing you down. In this situation, in this day and age, we have the police to protect us in a moment like this. We can't take undue advantage of that without standing up, by being fearless, by raising your voice to the skies and letting them know that we will not settle for less than what? $1 billion. Because let me tell you what, Governor Hogan, Maryland's a great state. Your second term is coming to its end. If you want to cement your legacy, not only for Maryland, because you know when we get this done here, every state that has an HBCU will replicate the same thing. So Governor Hogan, we're just going to tell you one more time, we're not settling for less than $1 billion because we are great. We are black. We are great. We are black. We are great. We are black. I repeat it because repetition is the key to learning. And I ain't going to let nobody turn me around. Ain't going to let nobody turn me around. God bless you and let the fight for HBCUs continue.
All right. You know what? This is one of the first demonstrations that I've organized, so not bad. I'm glad to see you all out here and you're sticking around.
Yeah.
If we just have a few more speakers, just a few more speakers. All right? Y'all good with that?
Yeah.
A few more speakers.
Let's go.
So next up, we want to have Dr. Alvin Thornton.
All right. House.
Hello, everybody. In 1975, I was president of Morgan State University's faculty. And we were here then for this very purpose in 1975, trying to destroy the dual system of higher education that was compromising our state and black children. I said to Shelton Noah then, 1975, as president of Morgan's faculty, that this is unsustainable, that you're creating and maintaining a dual system of higher education that violates the Maryland Constitution, our federal Constitution, and will not stand for it. Now, what would have happened if we had done right then? We're back here in 2019 fighting the same fight. Now, we're going to do exactly what we did then now. Will not take anything less for our babies, for our children.
That's right.
Right? Now look, Thurgood Marshall, I'm going to sit down, is right around the corner. We're going to put that statue up, right? Equal justice under law. That's Thurgood, right? There would be no Thurgood Marshall without Lincoln University. There would everybody is crying and moaning as we should about Elijah. There is no Elijah without historically black colleges. You understand that, right? There is no Alvin Thornton without Morehouse and Howard. There is no Perrin Mitchell. There is no National Museum of African American without what? Historically black colleges. In fact, we ought to rename it the Museum of HBCUs. Come on now. This is a fight worth fighting. And let's be very clear that we will provide the resources for our babies, and it will not just be bricks and mortar. You can always build a building. You got to put something in that building. You have to put endowed professorships to teach our babies. You have to make sure that you have full scholarships for our children, right? You have to make sure you have unduplicated exclusive programs at those schools. That's what we're demanding for. So go forward. Go forward with the same strength now that you had in 1975, and we're going to make it happen.
So next up, we're going to have our former Legislative Black Caucus Chair, Aisha Braveboy.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I love my HBCU. You know, I wasn't fortunate enough to go to one of the 4 HBCUs in Maryland, but I am a proud graduate of Howard University School of Law. You know, but let me just say, I stand in solidarity with all of you because we are all one, and what we understand is that HBCUs literally built the middle class here in America, the black middle class here in America. And if we want to continue to close the disparities, not just in education, but in economics, we must empower our HBCUs. And that's why I am here to tell you that this is not about politics. See, this lawsuit started under a Republican governor, Governor Ehrlich. It continued under a Democratic governor, Governor Martin O'Malley. But you know what? It's going to end under this Republican governor, Governor Hogan.
Yeah, that's
because
right.
Maryland should be embarrassed. When you say that the state of Maryland, one of the wealthiest states, one of the most highly educated states in this nation, can't figure out how to make it right when a judge says that you have violated the constitutional rights of your people. This is the state of Maryland. This is not a private institution. This is the state. This is our tax dollars funding a segregated system of higher education. We must do better than that. We have to demand better than that. And what I'm excited about is that we have a powerful and strong legislative black caucus led by my delegate, Darryl Barnes, who decided that the time is now. But we don't need to just be here today. They go back to session in January. In January, February, March, and at the beginning of April, they're going to need your support. They're going to need you to come down in large numbers so that you can talk to the governor and you can talk to other legislators about what we want, what we demand. This is all about fairness. This is all about Maryland doing what's right. And I'm proud to be back here in Annapolis, standing in solidarity with the wonderful members of the Legislative Black Caucus of Maryland, and we are going to make this happen. The time is now.
All right. Is Dr. Mary Owens Southwood? Where is she at? She's
behind you.
Behind me. Awesome. And she makes her way up. I don't know if you know this, but I just found this out. We have 2 HBCU alums, one at the young age of 90, and another at the young age of 93. I just wanted to give some recognition to them. Stand on this pole. Thank you. Make sure y'all get some photos.
Bring
Y'all
them
can't
up.
see her. You can't get her. Can you get up?
Bring them up. Bring them
Right
up.
here. Give her a hand.
Yeah.
So,
Give it a mic. Bring it on. Give it a mic. Bring it on. Come on now. Let's do this.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
You know, I am not such a fired up speaker, but I was standing on the side and looking around, and I think that what many people don't understand is that when I look out here, what I see is excellence.
Yeah.
At our HBCUs, we were told that we had to be better than. And so we were prepared in a much different way. And so what I see here are individuals that were prepared in excellence, those individuals that will make a difference in our community and that will make Maryland, the state, the country, the nation, a much internationally, globally, a much better world. And so I think that first I'm going to say that. And then secondly, I think it's very distressing that at this time in 2019, we're still standing here fighting for what is rightfully ours. Now is the time to change that. We cannot continue in the same vein. But I need to thank so many people. Dr. Cheatham has always been a very strong advocate for Coppin State University.
Hey,
We are in a community that is strong, and I think that we need to make a difference. This is truly a political issue. Why should we have to fight for what has already been deemed ours?
Yeah.
So now is the time to get on the telephone, come out, talk to your legislators, and encourage them to make the difference. We are the difference. And I had shared on the bus on the ride down here. I've been associated with Coppin now for almost 50 years.
Wow.
Seems like a very long time. But I started out there as an undergraduate. I've been a faculty member. I'm an administrator there, and now I am the president of Coppin State University National Alumni Association. We stand in solidarity with our sister HBCUs. We are prepared to go the full race. We will do whatever is necessary to make sure that we receive what is rightfully ours. It is time to allow us to flourish and to grow like the TWIs in the state of Maryland.
Right.
Thank you.
Hey, Thompson!
Right.
Now, before I bring up our last speaker, who you all know, I know you all know this brother. He's my brother. But I want to ask you all a question. You all registered to vote, right?
Yeah!
Anybody out there not registered to vote? One thing I'll call you out, but look, we have a voter registration table in the back.
All
But
right.
make certain, since you all are registered to vote, that you know who your elected officials are. Say it loud!
I'm black and I'm proud!
All right. Know who your elected officials are. Because when this session starts, you need to be on the phone with them.
Oh, hell yeah.
You need to be emailing them. All right, this is an education. This doesn't stop here. This is only the beginning of the 100 days. All right?
Say it loud.
I'm going to bring up our next speaker to that music. My brother, Roland.
How you doing?
We can kill the music.
Holy shit.
Let me give a shout out to specifically Morgan State as well as Bowie State. I've done both of their commencements, so Coppin State and University of Maryland Eastern Shore, y'all invited brother, you get a shout out. Also glad to see all my Alpha brothers out here, as well as the other members of the Divine Nine. A few weeks ago, the Capital Region Minority Supply Development Council had their annual awards gala. And we broadcast my show, Roland Martin Unfiltered, from there. In fact, we're live streaming this rally as we speak.
All right.
Across YouTube, Facebook, and Periscope.
All right.
And when I presented the award, I called out the governor, and I called out the lieutenant governor, who was also there to get an award. And I said, step up when it came to the funding. Right. Backstage, Lieutenant Governor got his award and saw me, and Lieutenant Governor said, I wasn't aware of the facts of this case.
Oh, wow.
What? I started laughing because if anybody who's watched my TV One show, News One Now, who's heard me on Tom Jones in the Morning show, who's watched Roland Martin Unfiltered, I've been covering this case since I had a show.
All right.
And I told Lieutenant Governor, I said, no, I'm familiar with the facts. He said, no, you haven't read the judge's ruling. I said, well, why don't you come on the show and talk about it? No, I don't want to come on the show. So I need to understand, how is it that I can be a graduate of Texas A&M University and be standing here at this rally fighting for HBCUs, and a black man is lieutenant governor of this state and is the graduate of an HBCU, but he's not out here standing up for HBCUs.
Hold it back. Come on, boy, where you at? Come on, boys, where
Do
you
you
at?
understand? My motto in my career has been simple. If you do good, I'll talk about you. If you do bad, I'll talk about you. At the end of the day, I'll talk about you. And there's no way in the world somebody can be the lieutenant governor of this state and be an HBCU graduate and somehow thinks $200 million is acceptable. That is an abomination, and he should be called out.
Yeah. Call him out. Come on, boy, where you
But
at?
let's also be clear that this is not a Democratic thing or a Republican thing. This is a right thing when it comes to properly funding schools, because HBCUs were creative enough to create the unique programs in the 70s that caused other students to want to come there, but then the predominantly white institutions saw those creative programs because black folks have always had to make a whole lot out of nothing.
All right.
So what is happening right now is that here we are for no reason. We should not have to be here demanding something, but you can't show me jack in American history that black folks have not had to actually fight and agitate for.
That's right.
And so what is required is not just to be here to show all the power here, but also it's about coming back when the legislature comes back and meets. Because here you in this state have the largest black caucus out of any state, and yet this still has not been fixed, has not been taken care of, even though this state lost in the courts.
Yes!
So what it requires is not just gathering today on November 13th. It requires coming back and sending a notice to the Democrats in this state. That you control the House and the Senate, and you don't have a party without black folks. And so if this government does not increase the funding, then I dare say to every Democrat in Maryland, either you stand with black folks or you against black folks.
That's right! Say it again.
And every single member of this party, they must be on record saying they will vote for the proper funding of the 4 HBCUs, or every one of them should be targeted and taken out of office.
Let's go.
The time has come for black folks to stop compromising with people, to stop accepting less, to stop accepting nonsense, and look folks in the eye and say, we will be here every single day until it happens. And let me be real clear to the governor as well as the lieutenant governor. The platform that I own, I own. I didn't have to ask nobody to come here because I own the damn camera. I didn't have to ask somebody, could we broadcast this live, because I own the live streaming unit. Which means that when the legislature comes back and meet and this agreement isn't signed, we will be here putting pressure on his behind every single day, calling him out, putting his phone number out every single day, because no longer will we accept anything less. We are 24 years away from America becoming a nation majority people of color. Here we are 400 years celebrating the year of return this year in this country. And here we are still having the same conversations that we have been having for so long. America never intended to educate us. They made it against the law for black folks to read. If you read the book, The Education of Blacks in the South, by James D. Anderson, the sister said she was responsible for more slaves being killed because she would taught them how to read. Now you know it's something powerful if they say the penalty is death if you were caught how to read. And you've got now African American students who are being shut out of other institutions, who have a way to be able to go to school. When I did the Morgan State graduation, I saw kids from other countries, Middle Eastern countries walking across that stage. And then all of a sudden, you're seeing the increase of Hispanic students coming through HBCUs. You got an HBCU in Kentucky that's majority white.
What?
Because they understand what education means. And so what we cannot allow a state that takes our taxpayer dollars and spends it other places and not do right by our people. And so when you leave here, what you must do is say, each person here has to decide, I'm going to reach 10 other people. So the next time we gather here, this group will be 5 times as large. And then you tell the same people we're going to call every single day. And if we got to call the governor's office, lieutenant governor's office, and call Democratic leader's office, that will happen as well. But no longer will we stand by and allow black folks to be disrespected, our institutions to be underfunded. The time is now for us to pick up the mantle of Dr. King, as well as Fannie Lou Hamer, as well as Ella Baker and Constance Baker Motley and Diane Nash and James Bevel and Ralph Abernathy and all the leaders who stood up. This generation must send the notice to Maryland and America. You will no longer take black folks for granted, because if you do, you're going to have hell to pay. And what they better understand is we've been used to fighting. We've been used to swinging on folks. And so if they question what's next, you tell them what one of the founders of Alpha Phi Alpha, Vertner Woodson Tandy, said: we will fight until hell freezes over, and then we will fight on the ice.
Hey, 5, 6,
was just presented, we have the president of the SDA here from the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. I want to give her a few minutes. They're going to bring Chinua back up, all right?
Come on. Young girl.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. So I just want to say that we came all the way from the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, 2 hours away, and I don't know about y'all, but I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm tired of having to figure out what am I supposed to do for my students when we're trying to develop the students in and outside of the classroom. I'm tired of figuring out what we have to do when we having housing problems and we can't expand our campus. I'm tired of being in the town of Princess Anne and I have to worry about my students as soon as they leave off the campus because of the police. So I don't know about y'all, but I'm tired. And everything has to do with the lack of funding. So I'm here. We're here. My students are here. I got Bowie here. We got Coppin here. We got everybody here. So, the dynamic and iconic Ella Fitzgerald once said, it isn't where you come from, it's where you're going that counts. To me, this quote speaks volume about attending a historically black institute. Since the early 1990s, Maryland's 4 historically black institutions, Morgan State, Bowie State, Coppin State, and the maroon and gray, my University of Maryland Eastern Shore, have been deadlocked in litigation with the state of Maryland to correct years of underfunding. While the state has allowed the predominantly white institutions to duplicate our senior programs, but they place pressure on us to increase enrollment. They allowed them to further expand their campuses, but watch us struggle with housing problems. All while still leaving us to see the horrific remnants of racial segregation. Today, we are here to say we will not stand for this justice any longer. But shout out to us. It's another year gone, no solutions, no money given, but we still make it do what it do. We still produce black excellence. We still have high graduation rates. So our education has delivered by a host of caring, professional faculty and supportive families and atmospheres, despite the lack of funding. Judge Catherine Blake was clear when she said Maryland needed to come to a resolution on this case. These deadlines have come and gone, but now the only message seeming to be pushed through is that our education, our voices, and our fight only matters to us. To Governor Hogan, this great state's next lawyers, doctors, teachers, engineers, and even future lawyers are being educated and will always be educated at historically black institutions. HBCUs serve the same importance as they did when they was first appeared in 1837. The University of Maryland Eastern Shore, Morgan State, Bowie, Coppin University are integral parts of higher education in Maryland. We had to fight for a quality education in the past. But who knew in 2019 we would still be fighting?
Still fighting.
But guess what? We will fight, we will rally, and we will do whatever it takes by any means necessary.
That's right.
Whole pride! Whole pride! Whole pride! I love my H in front of my B.
I want my B in front of my C. I love my C in front of my E. I love my A.
See, I'm glad she went before me because she led on, she ended what I was going to lead with. So we're going to start off with some chants to get our spirits up. But I'll be remiss, I just have one little end note to my earlier thing that I said. Everybody listening, listen up very closely. Give back to the HBCU.
All right, yes, sir.
In addition to this money, in lieu to money, invest all your everything into HBCUs because they invested everything into you.
Yes.
So what I want to do here is we're going to do a chant that maybe some of y'all know, maybe some of y'all don't. So I'm going to explain. It's I love my H in front of my B then in front of my C then in front of my U. I love my HBCU. But what I want y'all to do is I want y'all to follow because we are measured people. So when I bring myself lower, I want you to bring your voice lower. And when I bring myself higher, I want you to elevate yourself higher. Is that all right?
Yes.
Y'all with me? Ladies, y'all good? All right now. I love my H in front of my B, my B in front of my C in front of my U. I love my HBCU. Hold on. Now, listen. That was slightly remarkable, but you know, with our good tax dollars, some of these windows might be soundproof. Some of our lawmakers might be doing whatever it takes to not hear us. So I want our voices to reverberate through their spirit. So let's try that again. I love my H in front of my B in front of my C in front of my U. I love my HBCU. I love my HBCU. I love my B in front of my C. I love my C in front of my U. I love my HBCU. I love my H in front of my B. I love my B in front of my C. I love my C in front of my U. I love my HBCU. I love my H in front of my B. Keep it low. I love my H in front of my B. I love my B in front of my C. I love my C in front of my U. HBCU. Clap it up, y'all, one time. Hey, boo-way. Hey, boo-way. Hey, boo-way. Hey, Coppin. Hey, Coppin. Hey, Coppin. Hey, Coppin. Hawk pride. Hawk pride. Hawk pride. Hawk pride. Morgan State, you know we about to do it. 1, 2, 3. We are the best. We don't take no mess. We get mad in a minute. Stop it with your chest. We are the best. We don't take no mess. We get mad in a minute. Stop it with your chest. I love my. I love my. And I love my. HBCU. Clap it up, HBCU.
One last note before I let you all go. This is just kicking off the beginning of the Legislative Black Caucuses weekend. For those of you who don't have classes on Friday, please come down. We got some free workshops to talk about all types of policy programs and things that are going on down here, right behind us. So look, thank you all for coming out. Thank you.
All right.
I love my. Good afternoon.
Thanks so much, bro. That was cool. I was like, I can't say shit. I can't do nothing.
Thornton up there and just come out here. Are you going back to him?
Whatever I remember.
Yeah. All you gotta do is invite me. Baby, I got it. Baby, I got it. Everybody there? There we go. Sit here trying to tell me what to do. Absolutely. I got you back. Let's do it. All right. There you go. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. What's up, Doc?
Good to see you again.
Likewise.
Yes, please, Brother Martin.
Are you talking about
I don't know. Yes. Let him know exactly what you're talking about. Right here. Brother, I'll be honored if I can get a flick. Come on, please.
What's up, man?
There we go. I appreciate it. Hold on.
No, we take this all forward.
I got you. I know.
I got it. But you can't touch it. I gotta log in.
Keep up with the Alumni Association. They will be sending out information on the next 20 days of what are the next steps. We're going to continue this. And
unlock the phone.
Right here. Get in, Will.
Told you.
Appreciate it. You right.
You be still trying to unlock the phone.
Good job.
I appreciate it. How you doing? Watch out right there. I got it. Stay right here. Stay right there. Turn around. There you go. Stay right there. Yep.
We'll take a photo right here.
There you go.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Love you.
Thank you. Huh? There you go.
Yeah, and Roland. Oh, Roland. Oh, okay.
Son, right here.
Hey, talk about some of that.
Okay, I got you. There you go. Y'all ready?
Hey, Roland, let me get one real quick.
Huh? Oh, this camera. We got it. Okay, you slide around this way. There you go.
Okay, got it.
All right. I got you.
Oh, God.
We about to take it off. Anthony, stop this.
Oh, wait a minute. Ducks in that thing.
I am. Hey,
that's a nice one.
All right.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
Bros.
Yeah.
Yep. Hey, Anthony, step on the top platform. All right, Alpha photo.
Oh, Alpha photo.
All right, that brother over there.
Yo, Frank. Oh, no, Willie. Hey, Willie.
Josh, get in there. Lock him down. Freeman, get in there.
All right, Anthony, I'm going to get this one to you as well. All right, here we go.
All
right, here we go. Throw them up.
Hold up.
All right, put it on wide. All right, no. Just airdrop it. Airdrop it. Whose phone is this?
Hey!
All right, turn it on. Airdrop it. Airdrop is on. Airdrop on.
Okay.
I think that's fine. Not an airdrop, right? You all love them. There you go. Get all of them. We're going to give 5 cameras. There we go. There we go. Come on.
You want me to get like some MOSs or anything?
Yeah, where's Mike? Where's, two guys starting the lawsuit? Where? Here we go. Yeah, go ahead, grab it. Go ahead, grab it. Anybody. Just take it off tripod. Go, handheld. Right.
No live.
No live, just record it. Huh? Oh, stay right there. Stay right there. Hold on, I'm coming right back. Stay right here. Hold on, stay right here. Hold on. Come on.